At this point, I want to jump many decades ahead because what I found very interesting and something that you worked very hard at was a reunion of your buddies of the 302nd. I hadn't heard the story of how you got that idea to do it, what it was it took to get it done, and then what it was that when you actually got the reunions accomplished, what were some of the aspects of it that were very meaningful. So could you visit that? When all that comes about?
I certainly can. In the 1990s, we'll jump all the way to from the 49 to the 90s. When a computer first came out, and the first computer that John brought to my house on North Mead Street was about 1996 or 7 probably. I learned how to use that enough to do email and some things, and it excited my interest in the computers. So as soon as I learned that you could search for telephone numbers and addresses on a computer, the bright idea occurred to me that gee, it'll be 50 years since we came back to the States, and we should have a reunion since I was provided with a name and address list of all the members of the 302nd Fighter Control Squadron when I was discharged. Actually, that list was given to me before I left Iwo Jima, and I brought it home with me, and I still possessed it. So 50 years later, I pulled it out, put it by my computer, and considered how I might locate some of the people on that list, because I hadn't heard from anyone in the 302nd Fighter Control Squadron for 50 years. The address list did not have zip codes. The search engine that I was able to use was of a telephone book type search. So I chose a name and did a search. The name was the closest member of the 302nd Fighter Control Squadron to me, because I was the only one in the outfit from Louisiana. So I searched for Arthur Lang, who was from Gulfport, Mississippi. And I found his address. 50 years later, I dialed his number, he answered the phone. That confirmed to me that I would be able to search for many of the people of the 320 people who were on that address list that I possessed. I found out that most of the people, quickly I found out that most of the people after 50 years added to their age when the war ended in 1946 had died long ago. So I continued and developed my skill, and I had to write to the people using U.S. mail and envelopes with return address envelopes Otherwise, people who were not members of the squadron would not have had any way of communicating back to me that I am not the man you're looking for. So all of those letters that were written, which was a form letter that I mailed out over about a year, maybe a year and a half, I kept them when they came back. They still exist. Teresa has them, and they will be a source of interesting comments by members and family members of 302nd. People on the list. I finally found 70-some people who were still alive, and I believe that it was near the end of 1997, or sometime in 1997, that I proposed to those people that we have a reunion. I had learned to use a computer enough that I set up a hotel reservation in Monroeville, Pennsylvania. Invited all of the 78 members. Reserved the rooms that would be occupied and the catering services that would be provided at that reunion. It worked. Eloise and I drove to Monroeville, Pennsylvania in our VW bus. When I arrived there, I got in touch with the TV station and a newspaper in Pittsburgh, because Monroeville is a suburb, more or less, of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. By the end of the first day there, 28 former squadron members, and most of them with their spouse, had arrived. And we enjoyed sitting around the lobby. And I remember one of the guys named Skizzigs. I've forgotten how to spell that name. But as he walked into the old white-headed man, walked into the lobby of the hotel, and I looked around at the other white-headed men, he said, "My God, where did all these old people come from?" We had a boon good time for 2 days with that reunion. It worked well. The former commanding officer, John Coon John, several of the other officers were present at the reunion, and quite a few enlisted men, including William King, who had seen to it that that address list was provided to the squadron members. We referred to him as Sergeant Bill King, and he was at the reunion. It's one of my nicest memories of my life, was putting together that reunion.
They had to be awfully grateful.
They were grateful, and when I got home, about 3 or 4 days later, I found out that John had already accessed the TV station and the newspaper, had read the article about the reunion, which was published on the front page of that Pittsburgh paper. There were many papers published daily in Pittsburgh. John had already provided a copy of that to Hampton Reveley, a friend and former neighbor of ours who was in Houston, Texas. It impressed me that Hampton would know about that reunion, and John knew about it when I got back home. So that's part of my computer experience. I'm a person who enjoys the technology, even though I'm an amateur at using it.
So from that point, that first reunion and all the work you put into getting it done, y'all were able to stay in touch with some of your unit members. And
There were 2 additional reunions
okay,
that were held, one in San Antonio, and one I attended it with Eloise, and there was one in year 54 at Daytona Beach, Florida. I did not attend that one. But I stayed in touch with members of the squadron, and one of the ones that meant the most to me was Peter Kastan, who was from New York City. I learned from Peter that his 2 sons were PhDs, one from Columbia and one from Harvard. He informed me that he had heard that Sergeant Mel Safran's sons had attended Harvard. I did a little further search and learned their name, and they were both PhDs from Harvard. So these are 2 sergeants that I was in World War II with, whose 4 children, each of those sergeants had 2 children, and both of whom became PhDs. So I was pleased with these kind of developments. Part of my enjoying the technology world, and I'm enjoying it right now, and I give thanks for that. And thanks to you, Tom, for working on these little memoirs with me.
Well, it's been an honor and a pleasure, and I'm learning so much that I never knew. These are the kind of stories that they may come up in conversations from time to time, but you only get snippets of them. So I'm grateful that we have you and your memory, that we can capture it this way, where I can ask you a question and pretty much shut up and let you go. Well, Dad, thank you so much for spending the time, and golly, this is something, a legacy that we're obviously going to share with the family. And by golly, I think the World War II Museum might be interested in it. And I know I have a lot of World War II buffs that are going to appreciate your viewpoint, your getting into LSU, going through ROTC, getting enlisted, being deployed, coming back, and starting your life. This has been a joy for me. Thank you so very much for the time.
Thank you.